But fortunately for me, I did discover a really bright woman who has a wealth of experience, and I kind of wanted to share all of that with you guys here today. So hence why she's stuck doing this fireside chat with me, and you guys have to endure this at probably a really high volume, and we'll try to not, minimize the hand gestures so nobody has an epileptic seizure. But that being said, as you had told me over various calls, maybe you could tell everybody a little bit about your experience and sort of how you got to the role you are at today, your background, and sort of where you are today with that.
By the way, there will be a section for questions. So for those of you that may have questions after, so basically I started my career a while ago. We don't have to go into years, but I've always been an element of sales. And for those of you that want to Google me, I wrote in my yearbook at high school I wanted to be an accountant. So I landed in sales. I've been predominantly in the financial industry. I've also done distribution. So it's not just on the manufacturing side. I've also done the full service brokerage MFDA side. And what's always intrigued me, what I am actually a big fan of, is I'm a huge fan of client centricity. So I love kind of sort of always going to someone, why do you think that? Why do you think a client would do that? And that's led me to quite a sort of kind of have a nice journey in my career dealing in sales and finance.
Yeah, definitely. She's also really interesting on conference calls. She swears a lot, and I love it. Just like me, I feel like I'm not the only one who's using foul.
You don't have to tell everyone.
Yeah, no, I totally wanted to do that. She told me not to say that. I so did. That being said, how did you guys get stuck with Salesforce, and how did you set up the tool so that it works for you?
Interesting enough, we were actually the orphans in the bank in 2012. We were actually the only ones predominantly using Salesforce. The rest of the firm was using a different platform. But one of the advantages, we were B2B, so we kind of sort of get these scoped really quick whenever big discussions come, because no one really understands B2B well. So they kind of go, oh, it's a different beast. It's actually not. We had it, but what we had was not appropriate. It was a tool that was bought to help collaboration, but no one understood what they were collaborating on. So it ended up looking like a camel. It didn't do the services for us. It didn't do the services for another division. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone was able to touch the data, change the clients. And about 2-3 years ago, we just basically had decided, I'm not really separating. I'm staying in Salesforce, but I think I need to kind of, when it's one of those, it's not you, it's me. I just need a break, and we just have to let me center on myself. That's what it was. And we had to figure out how to use Salesforce before we can start saying, well, how can I use Salesforce with you in another division? Because we weren't understanding, and we weren't even at what you see now, the MBI sales code, that's something that we've built over the last 2-3 years.
Cool, very cool. And I know we've been partnering, you mentioned we've been partnering together with Incloud since about 2013, but what does the rest of your team look like? Like, how is that, other than Astrid always being on vacation, but...
Actually, my team, I'm not going to lie to you, joke right there, it's Astrid. So we've kept it very simple. Luckily for us, we have our SME within the group. That's another thing I recommend. It doesn't mean we don't interact with IT. It doesn't mean that we don't talk to the SME of IT. We do. At the end of the day, though, for anything to be good, it has to be tactical. It has to be flexible. We know that the bank is transforming itself technologically, and we could, let's say, wait on them. But again, waiting on them means I then am accountable for sales. So that's where Incloud came in. It was, here's what I can do. Here's the finances I can work. Astrid pretty much knows my game plan. And you don't need a big team. And what I tend to say to people is you got to, at one point in time, decide, do you want to become an IT firm, or do you want to become the motor of what you do? And remember, I didn't say sales, I didn't say finance. I said, what's your engine? I am high performance engine. And I decided that that's what I wanted. And I have no shame and qualms in going to people that are really better at me, that actually that's your skill set. And if you're not good at it, I can get rid of you. And that's a different approach. I don't have that ego where, it's mine, I own it, it's proprietary. Guys, if I win, I don't mind waving to you from my Lamborghini going, I won. At the end of the day, we're in a business of sales, and time is money. We forget that. And all the other politics kind of sort of gets involved.
Yeah, and I remember that was one of the things that I was really impressed by, because you have a really lean team. Like when she was telling me how her team was set up, I was like, Wow, I mean, everybody sort of has this myth you need like tons of people in chairs doing stuff, but they're accomplishing a heck of a lot with a very lean, efficient like operation going. Obviously, I mean, Annamaria is leading it. It must be an Annamaria thing, but that being said, the dark side of things, like any challenges, any roadblocks that sort of came up along the way?
The challenges are really, I would say to you, it always starts with salespeople. The problem with us is we're good at what we do. We're not good at explaining to people how we do it. So when we tend to talk, there's a certain kind of sort of obnoxious aggression that comes out to say, this is how we want it. So we're closed-minded. So you have to kind of sort of overcome that hurdle. If you've ever done anything with sales, you'll show them a great platform. And what's the first thing after you've shown them what the platform can do? What's the first thing they'll say to you? Yeah, but it doesn't do this, right? So the challenges are, how do you mitigate that? How do you manage that? It's that change management that we tend to give it to a project owner. I always find that very hilarious that we delegate change management to project owners. Change management belongs to management to change. It came, for me, it was very easy. It was a non-negotiable. So the challenge was getting that vision done, and then the rest kind of comes, right? Because I would be the one writing my name. If it messed up, people in IT would blame me. If I didn't deliver, finance would blame me. So I took that to heart. But I had to get the sales team behind me, and that's the hardest part. You get them on board, it's a tsunami. The rest becomes easy because they'll deliver the numbers.
And I know towards the end you were mentioning sort of like KPIs and the element of gamification, but how do you measure success today? Like, what are the KPIs that you're looking at, it's
for sure KPIs. I'm still a corporate girl, so at the end of the day, I do have sales numbers to bring. But again, we're a publicly traded company, and we are in finance, and operational efficiency is now becoming one of those numbers that is important. And you can have operational efficiency as a bank as a whole, and every division has that. We're operating at 35 right now. So that is 20 basis points below versus anybody on the street. That's monstrous, because you got to understand there's three things that are expensive in finance. Usually it's the portfolio manager managing your money. The other one is real estate, because we do unfortunately reside in the most expensive cities in Canada. What's your third most expensive item on your balance sheet? Salespeople. Now, of course, the accountant would love to fire my whole team, but I keep explaining it comes with a drawback, right? And you sit there going, if you can get to 35 operational efficiency, that means you've reduced your PM charges to the lowest possible. You can only get real estate to a certain degree. Then you got to get more output per salespeople. Not get more people. You want to get more output per salespeople. So how do you get more output out of a salesperson? Time management. They will create every story in the book to justify what they're doing. They're really good at it. I love them. There's days I want to watch a movie. I can't. I just think of them. They spin a great story. That's how passionate they are. But if they're not focused on the right things, I bear the brunt of that. See, I bear the risk. So that's where the KPIs, for me, become important, right? You make them bite sizes for them, but I still bear the brunt of the big ones.
Or the Ferrari.
No, I don't have one, but it's okay.
Whichever comes first. Just to wrap stuff up so you guys could eventually get a drink very quickly, what's sort of next on the roadmap? What, like, any cool projects coming up? I know you were just showing us, like, there's a bit of AI stuff, and care to tell us a bit about the Desjardins guy left? You can actually tell us now.
I know, but there's others.
There'll be alcohol later.
So I'll give you an example. I can't get stuck up too much on who will do what, because at the end of the day, some of these decisions will be scoped out of me. Maybe corporately they'll say, you know what, Annamaria, we were able to, because remember, we also have, as any financial institution, many of you are going to have your proprietary legacy systems that you're not going to want to necessarily have anybody else touch them. So maybe one day I will be connected to the master client profile or not. Well, if those discussions kind of sort of happen along the way, we'll do our own AI or not. But what I tell people is my vision is clear. I want to get the intelligence off of the data. So today, my job is to make sure the data keeps getting pure, the data gets housed in the same place, and my dream is to have someone give me a predictive element to it. Because today, I'm controlling 90% of the data. Like, we just got Seismic now, which is our content management. That's going to be probably the beginning of our foray into predictiveness, because I can kind of see, if you open up my PowerPoint, I can kind of see what page you were on. Well, not kind of, I can. But the good news there is if used properly in the right context, it enables that discussion in sales to go quicker. All of these things are to lead you to a predictive environment. Who does it and how it does it, that's going to be a discussion. Honestly, I don't even lose sleep on it. But I know it will get done. Now my fight is, will it be done good enough and in the right time frame of when my guys are needing it? So that's the stuff that keeps me up.
Yeah, next best action and that stuff. Very cool. All right, last question, but a very, very important one, so you can take your time to answer it if you need. But what does your team often make fun of you for?
Well, I kind of alluded it to before, and I live this. Look, I'm an anomaly in my business, so some of you might make fun of this, but I'm a unicorn, right? I've been in this industry for 25 years. I could have counted on one hand how many women, least of all Italian women, were in the industry. Unfortunately, the hand hasn't grown much more, but, you know, one of the things that I've learned really early in my career is to put the ego aside and to focus. And what I'm known for is when I'm in an argument with someone, I'll stop and I'll go, do you want to be right or do you want to win? Because you won't get both. And people will be like, but if I'm right, I win. Really? Because even in winning, there's collateral damage. A lot of times people want to be right. And I tend to say to people, that usually comes at expense of something else. You're not listening. So I much prefer to win. So I say to someone, if you want to win, at the end of the day, what does that winning mean? It could mean landing the client. It could mean cross-selling. It could mean holding the account from not being transferred out. It could mean getting you to adopt the program or not. All of a sudden, you got to be humble. And that's something that's worked really well for me because then I'm opened and receptive to a lot of ideas. Being right means you're arguing. Winning means you're listening to your blind spots. And I've had a lot of great people around me constantly tapping me on the shoulders to say, you know you're going down this road and you got these 4 blind spots. Are you aware? And I'm like, oh, all right, time to pull back. And so, again, a lot of times when I'll often be asked to join certain heated debates, and the first thing I'll say to someone, who wants to be right, who wants to win? Because right now, everyone wants to win. And if everyone wants to win around the table, no one's listening. That's the greatest drawback in a business.
Very true, very true. See, this is why I like her. It's really cool.
She likes me because we have the same name. And
that is also true.
We also bought a 649 when we did the first phone call because the odds of 2 Annamarias together is very rare. I'm telling you this in finance.
Now we're in a room together with these people. Poor you. That being said, we can jump right into questions. I just want